And so it wasn't until I was, the early 40s where I finally started really knowing myself, where my kids were old enough to, you really had to be good for them. I lost a business at that time, which talked about humility. You lose a business and you lose everything. And I still was doing much better than I was as a kid because I knew I could do it again. If I can help as many people as possible, anything that I ever will want will be there. If I want something, it'll just be there. That's that curtain opening. It just does. Because all I do every day is go out and serve.
Yeah.
One way or the other.
Yeah, powerful statement. There's a scripture that reads, cast your bread upon many waters, and in not many days it will return hence.
When I started, I wanted to be a professional speaker. I was making a lot of money, and I had asked somebody for some advice, Steve Nudelberg, and he said, why do you want to do it? And I said, well, it seems like interesting being on stage. I have a story. I wrote my book, and it came out, it was pretty interesting. And he said, he said, do you need money? And I said, well, of course I need money. And he goes, well, then you can't do it. You can't do anything for money. It will never work. And so I kind of put it on pause. But what I did was I joined professional speaking Toastmasters, 2 different groups. I started getting a speech coach. I started writing speeches. I wasn't doing it, but I was preparing for when I could. And then wouldn't you know it, within 1 year, the doorbell rang on our end. We didn't go out seeking. Someone came to us and wanted to buy our company. And we sold that company. And now when money wasn't an option, I was prepared. I had my speaking coach. I had professionally speaking Toastmasters, 2 of them, and I had my speech written, and I started putting out applications to speak, and I got hired. My first speech is coming up. Actually, my first big stage is coming up August 25th. Listen to this. I've never really been on a really big stage yet. On my first big, the check has a comma and 3 zeros behind it. I opened the last day of the Florida Real Estate Association conference, and Martha Stewart closes that day, right? That is meant to be. Yeah. And that would never have happened if I'd needed that check, because I got that contract 6 months ago. I'm not speaking till August, right? I don't need money now, right? When I sold that company, that went away on Forrest Gump, right? One less thing. Yeah. But now I can focus on helping, not for me, but for them in a really unique way, stratospheric way. I can help more people now than I ever have been able to help people before.
I love that. We're talking about financial freedom. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Man. So tell me more about like that mindset, because if you didn't need the money, then you had to work towards something to get to the place where you don't need the money, right?
Well, I'm ultra competitive with myself. I always want to do better. I always want to put myself, and also I have a complex where, I told you earlier, I did horrible in school, really bad in school, except for ROTC and drumline. Well, why? Why in those 2? ROTC is it's an individual sport, basically. The instructor is looking at you. He's judging your brass and your shirt, and is it lined up with the belt buckle, and is that your shoe shiny? And they would inspect you. Well, now I'm not just a kid in the back of 34 kids in the back sleeping because I can't sleep because I couldn't even wake up. I had I was so bored. I didn't know what it was. I would fall asleep. But now, bam, I was excited, and I get to make them proud of me. And that was one of the fastest promoted people in the history of the high school at that time. I'm sure people have blown me away since then. That was a long time ago. But when I started getting that success, now what is that saying? Success leaves clues, right? So I started feeling good. I started feeling confident. I started doing well in the drills. I did well on the shot thing. I did well in the first aid. Everything they taught me, the alphanumeric codes that you had to learn. And all of a sudden, I felt good, all right? That success leaves clues. In drumline, you're one of 32 drums. Go off tempo and see if you don't stick out, right? Hit the wrong drums and go the wrong direction when you're marching. See if you don't stick out. So when you have that thing where they can see you as an individual, I always excelled. So whenever I got into working for companies, I really just wanted to excel. Doesn't matter. I wasn't going against Andrew. I wasn't going against Brian. I wasn't going against Rob. I was going against me, right? See me do the best I can do. And if I fail, I want to hear it. And I failed a lot, but I always strive to get better because I wanted to make somebody proud. That was it.
And that person you wanted to make proud was yourself.
At the end of the day, probably you always want to help your former self, you know. So that is true. It is true on a very deep level. I've paid a lot of money to find that out much later in my life.
That's good, because that takes me all the way back to where I was asking him, man. I'm digging, man, because those two examples that you gave me was for your children and because you wanted to stop hurting others.
Yeah.
But the thing is like, you can be a greater example for your children, but if you're not genuine, you know, to yourself, like we all have our own personal needs. Yeah. And man, I'm digging. I want to hear those personal needs, man. I want to know, what is it that Jeremy absolutely needed in order to transform into this multi-million-dollar individual who is able to produce so much content, so much good, and to give so freely. I mean, you're like Santa Claus right now in the coaching business.
Well, I tell you, people overthink those things, and I'm going to tell you, you could do this for anyone. It comes down to just a couple things. Being told that I did a good job, right? Getting that approval. You don't know how far it went, because I was so low as a kid until I was 20, 22 years old, that even when I'm in my 20s, 30s, being told you did a good job went so far for me. The second part of that is being allowed to make mistakes. If you tell people they're doing a good job for you and you allow them to make mistakes, especially if you take the time to show them the mistakes they made and how they can fix it, and especially if you figure out how to speak in a way that lets them say how they made the mistake, how they can correct it and take accountability for it, those two things did the most for me to want to grow and keep growing like a jack. You know, you remember the old time jacks where you do it and it goes up and it goes down a little bit. It goes up more, but it comes down a little bit. That's my life. I've always gone up and down, up and down. And it starts with me. That's been a mantra of mine, not those exact words, but right, whose fault is it? It's got two thumbs and it's this guy. I don't care who it is. It's this guy's fault. I didn't explain it well enough. I didn't ask you if you understood it well enough. I assumed that you knew it. I assumed that I thought that I knew what you wanted me to do. Is always me. I've always been good about taking that control away from the blame, or it's over. It's my fault, and here's how we can overcome it and go forward. And stepping right up, you know, and doing that. And that really got me far with companies too. So you would have you know, every single company is going to break sewer lines. Every company that puts in phone and fiber optics is going to break electrical lines and cut this out and cut roads up. When you call the company and you call the city first and you say, my crews did this, here's the time frame for fixing it. I need you to get out here to do this, but here's how I'm going to go about fixing it. And you self-report, but you come up with the plan, they forgive a lot more than if you just hit it, go home, and then they have to go out there at midnight because the constituency is calling, the homeowners are calling the city, and they have to figure out who did it and look through the permits. They don't like that. They don't like that at all. So when you start self-reporting and you go through, your people will go through walls because you see that you do that, then they'll start self-reporting on them because you don't hit the roof and fire their butts for every single little mistake they make. As long as it's not the same mistake over and over. That never was really good about handling that. If you do the same thing over and over and keep making the same mistakes, that's a mindset problem. But going forward means having setbacks. You cannot get forward without setbacks.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is a mindset problem too. You know, maybe it's more than that. Maybe it's I don't care type of issue in that individual. So, and like what you're saying, I know that your kids have got to be like eating this up because, you know, I use that with my children too. Having 3 kids, the first one is 23, the next one is 16, the last one's 11.
Yep.
And one of the things that I kept on learning as I'm grooming my children, and it was crystal clear by the time my 11-year-old came through, was to be honest. And so from, you know, like all the way down here, I taught them, you know, because I felt like I felt like in my earlier days, I gave off the wrong type of like I almost made it a good thing to try to hide whatever you did, to appear as if you're perfect. But when I got to that little one, I was like, okay, we're gonna nip this thing right in the bud.
Yeah.
Listen, you tell me whatever it is, and we can work it. And the first time he came to me and told me something, I said, all right, I'll tell you what, because you told me, and only because you told me, you're in no trouble at all.
Yeah.
And then I just said, this is what you need to do to fix it. Wow. And from that moment, and still to this day, 11 years, what is it? It's been like 8 years since we had that lesson.
Yeah.
3 years old. At 8 years later, he is still telling me the honest truth, whether I like it or not now.
Yes. Yeah. And he'll do that for everyone, hopefully, that's called integrity. You instilled integrity in him, and that's tough, My kids are pretty special. I got 4. I have 4 between my wife and I, and I've been with her for like 10 years, so I take credit for half their lives. But my oldest daughter's 28; she's a paralegal. My Trace is 24. He's a fireman. He's got 3 months left of paramedic school. Garrett is my youngest. My personal youngest son is 21. When he graduated high school at 18, he sold his car for $10,000, gave me $10,000, and said, "I want to start a business." It's been 3 years. We do $350,000 worth of revenue. He's got 5 employees, 250 maintenance accounts, and that's another one who we beat each other here every day. Right? Somebody's got to get here first, and so I taught him that get here first, and before your workers, you better be here. My youngest son, Peter, my wife's youngest, is 18. He just graduated high school. He wants to do something with finance. He's not quite sure yet, but he's the smartest one of all of us, so I'm sure he's going to be fine. But we did a good job. We got lucky. You do get lucky when the kid turns 12, 13. You're not their parents. Their friends are their parents and their influence. And my kids all stuck together, all of them, all 4, and through all those years. And they don't have a lot of outside friends. Each one's got like 1 or 2 outside friends. And so that's a blessing. That's not anything that you can control. So,
yeah. Well, I definitely would say that some of that has had to have come from the nurturing of you and your wife. Because you're creating a certain type of atmosphere, I'm sure that there are things that you're doing intentionally, but there's a whole lot of things that are being done unintentionally.
True.
And it is creating that atmosphere. It's you being you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Absolutely, man. I just call it like I see it. That's it. You know what I mean? So what was it? Now here's the 2 things, for all of our listeners, and we're going a little bit over time. So you all just hang in there because I'm still digging, right? And so you gave me 2 more things that led you to the first 2 answers, which was better example for children, stop hurting others. Then you went to being told a good job and being allowed to make mistakes, approval and accountability. So did you feel as if you weren't good enough?
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, I had more than imposter syndrome. I had no self-esteem. I had no self-awareness of of any positive that I could ever do. It was very well ingrained, very deep ingrained that I had nothing to live for. That's why 2 of my brothers killed themselves. They were drinking. They're both alcoholics, and they're instilled with the same. Now, my brother-in-law, one of them was my brother-in-law in transparency, but his life was no picnic. He was in prison for a long time. When you compound that with alcohol and you don't get that positive reinforcement wherever it comes from, you've got to allow it to give it to yourself, or if you're around people that give it to you, it's just tough. And I saw that. I saw what they did. I saw how they, and I'm a suicide counselor to this day because I can feel, and people feel comfortable with me, and they trust me, and they tell me things, and I call it like you. When you talk to people about suicide, you got to be very blunt about it. You can't say you're not thinking about hurting yourself, are you? You got to ask them, are you thinking about killing yourself right now? Are you thinking about hurting yourself right now? And they're not used to that. So when that happens, it disrupts them, and then they open up, and if they trust you, they'll open up and talk to you. I didn't do that with my brothers. I wasn't there. I didn't live in the States. They didn't give me the opportunity. So I can tell you that seeing a pattern of that, because I was 27 or so when the first one happened, I'd already been on the trajectory of getting better, but it just empowered me more to be open and to take those compliments. And, I could never take a compliment, and I learned this one. You take your hands out here, you take the compliment and you pull it into your heart. You just say thank you, and you absorb the compliment. You don't say anything else. Thank you. But before I learned that, I was like, oh, no, you should see this. You wouldn't say that if you saw me yesterday. I don't do that anymore. It's thank you. You take it, you absorb it, and then you move on, all right? Because it's not you. And also, I learned how to stop being a blessing blocker. This is one of my favorites. I was a blessing blocker. I didn't want to ask anyone for help. I had to do everything for myself, but I had to do everything for people. Well, what did I tell you earlier? When you do things for people, you get blessed. Anything you ever want in life will come in spades if you help enough people. But if you don't ask for help, you're blocking other people's blessings. All right? If you never let anyone help you, they can't get their blessings. So now when I need help, I'm the first one to ask for help from people that I care about, people that I don't even know. I don't care what situation it is. I will ask for help and I'll take it because I know in the back of my head, they're going to get blessed for that because that's how blessings happen. So stop being a blessing blocker. Let people help you because that's the only way you're going to actually let that joy of helping into others' hearts. So that was a tough one for me. I didn't learn that one for a long time, very recently.
That's dope. Hey, listen, Anna Lee, I want you to prepare to cut this in half. You got some more time, Jeremy?
I got a little bit more time. Yeah, I got a 7 o'clock call I got to get on, but I got a little bit more time. Yes.
All right. Are you good to go? Like maybe another 15 minutes or so?
Absolutely. All
right. So, because I want to cut this in half and do a part 1 and part 2.
Awesome.
Because this is, man, you're fire, dude. And like people, there's so much that needs to be digested going on in here. And, like you got all this stuff inside of you and I'm loving it. This is what I call high. You're high.
Yeah.
Honest, integrity filled, genuine, and humble.
Damn.
Yeah, that's you.
Yeah, thank you.
100%. And so like this imposter syndrome, this is real. And people are like, we're taught to scan the room and check to see whoever has that imposter syndrome, because there was this huge saying that was going out over the last decade, fake it until you make it. But there's something that comes along with that, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you say that to yourself, you're already giving yourself you're giving everyone else a head start because you're saying you're faking it. Just own it. Like you said, it starts with me. Own it. I am here for a reason, first of all. So I'll give you an example. I just became a professional speaker. I told you about a year ago, I committed to it when that company sold and cut me a check that I never thought I would ever see, right? 2 commas, that allowed me to do anything I wanted to do. Well, I wanted to be a speaker and I was preparing along like I was going to be a speaker. I didn't know that would drop in my lap. When it did, it freed me up. So I joined the National Speakers Association. I went to a big convention in Las Vegas. I met a few people. I asked who I should be talking to. They introduced me to some people. My first day at the Florida Speakers Association, they were filming the speakers coming in, and they were doing an admirable job, but wasn't their thing. Well, I had built a recording studio for myself here in Oakland Park because, this is what I do. I like to record and make videos, and I enjoy myself. So I said, would it be okay if I took this over? And I brought all this really, big stuff, and they bought some stuff too. And a guy named Dave, he does a good job, but I said, can I own it? All right. So I would go Friday night, and I would uncurl all the cables and set up all the microphones, set up 2 camera shoots, set up the Zoom, set up the speakers so we could hear the people on Zoom clearly. They could hear us. And I started talking to the speakers, and I said, you need to make it more interactive so that our members are learning more than just speaking to them. We want to make it interactive. Well, that was a year ago. And then just this Saturday, just 3 days ago, they just inducted me, and I'm now the next president of the Florida Speakers Association. I'm leading 45 people who do this for a living for 20 years. It's my first year. I haven't even been on a big stage yet. I've just been on a lot of virtual stuff, and now talk about imposter syndrome. Do I think I belong there? Yes, I do. Because I take of my time and I give to the members. I do everything I can to make their business, their speaking. I bring in specific speakers that I know will help them. I spend a lot of money on my education, on being part of masterminds to meet the best speakers in the country, to bring them in to help our guys. Yes, I belong there. What's the criteria for being there? Am I the best speaker in the room? Nope. That's not a criteria, because I'm definitely not the best speaker in the room. Is it that I'm on more stages than anyone else? Is that the criteria? Nope, it isn't. That's not a criteria. I'm cool because I'm not on the most stages. Is it that I charge the most money for every speech? No, I don't. I charge a very reasonable amount for every speech, but that's not a criteria. The criteria is who does more for the other members in the chapter to get their speaking businesses further in a given year. This guy did more than any other person in that room, and a lot of people do it too. They also do it. I'm not taking it away, but Ann was willing to take this executive role and learn from it. And I was excited about it. And it was just, here, this is yours. And it was very loving, trusting. And I get to now learn from so much because I'm working with every member now and helping them. And they're going to be helping me exponentially, right? So with all of that combination, yes, I deserve it. 5 years ago, I could have not sat here and told you that. I wouldn't have not been able to sit here and separated speaks the most, charges the most, biggest stages from, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. Can you help the others in the group do that? And yes, I can help the others do that. So
that's the power of Napoleon's Hill, Think and Grow Rich. The power of a mastermind. When you have all these individuals that come together and are benefiting one another, everybody grows. And it just sounds like you truly took that lesson. I don't know if you read the book. But
I'm in a mastermind with my children. Every Monday we read that book, and we're in our last chapter this week. You got it. You called it,
That's the power of it. That's the power of, that's the lesson behind it, And when we start to really build those types of relationships, instead of just trying to gain from somebody else for our own position, then I think that we start to create an atmosphere. We start to create a community. We start to create an ecosystem that allows us to grow to our greatest potential. And we do it without even ourselves knowing, because like you said, all of a sudden things started happening. They just start coming to us. We don't even realize it. It's just like boom, bang, bing, bing, bing.
That's right. And then talk about, giving the credit and everything. Let me see if I can figure this out real quickly here. We had a speaker come in. I told you his name earlier, Bob Berg. Right? He wrote the book called The Go-Giver, and changed my life a long time ago. So I mic the guys. I do the camera stuff. I do all stuff. Now, I was planning on being cremated. When I lost my brothers, especially my younger brother, I came back and I made my funeral plans, right? I'm going to be cremated. I'm going to be put down in the Atlantic Ocean. That's where I really identify with my one place, that's it. So I had my whole thing. And I tell a joke now to Bob, and Bob, I count him as a friend. Bob is, I'm going to change my funeral plans now. I have to be buried because I want to what I did was after he left, he wrote this LinkedIn testimony or testimony, whatever you call these things. This is from Bob Berg on February 5th, worked with Jeremy. The importance of overcoming obstacles to the path to success is well known, but those who can overcome the circumstances that Jeremy has had and still live happy, fulfilled, and joyous are extremely rare indeed. That he has not only done himself, but also he shows others how to do the same, make him a speaker, a coach, consultant you'll want to have on your team. He's also simply one of the most valued added practitioners I've ever worked with. The man takes that extra step beyond the usual extra step in order to provide those whom he works with an unforgettable wow experience. I read this a lot. Talk about affirmation. I read that. That's that thing where you say you want to make people proud of you. That guy was not a real guy when I read his book 100 times. And then I met him and I worked with him. And then to get that, it's that happened earlier last year, whatever, this year. It's still not real to me, And that win that pushes you up is that kind of feedback, And I get that. I really do get that from my members. I want more of it. I'm a junkie for that kind of stuff, and you don't get it unless you're giving extreme amounts to others.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh man, you're absolutely worth that comment.
That's the first time I ever
100%.
pulled it up and read it. Like I feel like I almost douchey doing that, but this is where
Man,
we are,
forget
man.
about that, man. You
That's
are
the
real,
point.
dude. You are real.
Yeah,
I'm glad you pulled that up
yeah.
because, like, people who inspire to do great things need to hear what is inspiring others to do great things.
And you
It
don't
is
know who's
not,
watching.
yeah,
You know, bam.
exactly.
You know,
You don't just get there. You don't just, like we were talking about Kobe so much. Did he have talent? Yes.
yeah,
But what did he do with his talent? Because there comes a point in time when your talent can't take you to the level that you could be at.
yeah.
You have to work your talent. Read the book. What is it? Peak. By Anderson,
Okay.
Erickson. Peak. And it talks all about these types of things. People who had talent that their parents fostered that talent. And then when they grew up, they began to nurture and nurture and nurture. Then they became the Mozarts. Then they became the Kobe Bryants and the Michael Jordans.
Yeah.
Because they would not stop. Their discipline and their determination made them unstoppable.
Yes. Yeah. But that's very rare. It's very rare. But the thing is, it's it's not impossible. Anyone could have it. Anyone. Not anyone can fly like Michael Jordan, but you could do that in your own industry. You could be the Jordan of whatever you choose that you're physically able to do and work on. I'm 51 years old. I feel like I'm 40 years old. I feel like I'm 35 years old, because I'm so excited about life, but I also try to take care of myself. My wife and my daughter and all my sons, they work out. I don't work out, but I try to watch what I eat because it's mostly diet anyway. I know my lane, I'm not going to be big like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I want to be around a while. And I don't want to be in pain the whole time. I get to travel and get on stage and talk, and I don't want to come off and not be able to breathe, and my back hurts, and I can't enjoy myself. I'm setting it up for this next 10 years to go help as many people, thousands and thousands of people with their business, because small business is where it is. This country, I'm not going to get political at all. This country's messed up. Everyone can agree on that one. And one of the things to what I think we could save this country, it all begins with small business, because it all begins with community. And when a small business is struggling and they can't employ people, or they have employees and they're not treating them very well because they're having problems with their finances and it just doesn't make for a happy workplace. When we fix that, we get small business working, and then I work with the owners to empower their employees, teaching them how to speak and how to give the employee purpose, value, and a voice. Employees go home with more energy than they got to work with. They can't, when you go home after a big day, you're talking, telling your wife, telling your best friend, petting a dog, right? Taking for a walk. You feel more energetic than when you come home from a bad day and you're drained. If we can get more small businesses to succeed, and this can all be done despite the economy, because there's ways we have to do more with less, and we know how to do that. We teach businesses how to do more with less, how to give employees purpose, voice, and value. They go home, where do they go? Into the community. And so if we get more happy employees going home, more energized they got to work with, and they get out in their community, that's just spreading positivity exponentially, just like negativity. And that book you just read tells you got to do the positive on your own. Negative will do it by itself. But helping these small businesses succeed will put these positive things in motion. And that's my goal, try to help as many small businesses as possible to build this country up to where, I don't know if it used to be good, I don't know, but I know it can be good. And it starts with small businesses, in my opinion.
I love it. I love it. I love it. This is my last question for you. I've been reserving this one for a little bit of time. I had the perfect segue just a little while ago, but we broke out into this last piece. So there was one other thing that I noticed, because you said approval and then accountability. Those were two things. So I want to dig in deeper to accountability. Did you felt like, it seemed like you must have felt like you desired to be needed. Like, did you feel like you weren't needed? Like you were just trash or something?
Yeah, I was told I was trash. For the first 20 years of my life, I was told I was trash. I was told I was shunned. We were shunned because when your dad's Italian and you're a blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid, one of these things do not look like the others. And so I didn't know it, but they all knew it, and they shunned my sister and me. And my sister's deaf, right? And I was very much of a hothead growing up. Obviously, we went through that. And it was just it wasn't a very happy place. And so then you hear, oh, that's just Jeremy. He's just going to be like that. I get expelled. I get suspended for fighting. Well, it's okay because look at his grades anyway. The kid doesn't get ever even a C. Well, no one's ever encouraged me. No one's ever said that I could do anything. And so that gets ingrained. And so when I started making that switch and that success was leaving those clues and I started getting the attaboys and then I started getting success, it became just an unquenchable thirst to get that appreciation, to get the thank yous, to get the recognition, to get the success and to get the stature. And, but once you get there, if you don't know how to treat people, and I didn't, then you got to backslide. I backslid again, and I had to learn. And how I learned was the hard way every time, the hard way. And but someone would come into my life who was really good at it and treated me really good, and I would go, "Whoa, I want to be like that." And so I would ask him, "How do you do that? How do you build these relationships? How do you not get mad when someone tells you this? How do you hold people accountable?" For example, where I would one time I came in with a stack of Burger King applications. I threw it on the table in the meeting room. And I said, no one's asking you all to be here. If you don't like it here, Burger King's hiring. I just came from there. Feel free to walk out the door right now. And that wasn't the right thing to do. And that wasn't the right thing to do. But I was fed up with some of the complaining again, but that comes back to me. I then turned it around over time and worked with each one of those people and find out why they weren't happy. And then I made them happy. I didn't make them happy, but I helped the situation so that it would be a happier place. And those people all thrived, and we all did very, very well for many years after that. But that's the thing. I always trip backwards into success. I have to, totally demolish a good effort first, and then I go, oh wow, and then I find who's doing it and ask them. That's worked well, and I stopped doing it backwards now.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're paying a lot of this forward. You've taken in so many of the lessons. You've taken so many of the lumps that you're now able to teach somebody before they even get there. Awesome foreshadowing. It's what I consider to be the shadow effect. And you are casting a shadow before someone else of success. But the thing is, they don't have to wonder what the shadow is because you're there to coach them right into it.
Yeah, I try to make it blatant. And now with social media, it becomes very easy to tell people your wins, and you don't see many people touting their losses, right? So one thing you might notice on my page in the stories that I tell, it's always personal examples of failure, right? Overcoming. The first thing I talked to you about was, growing up in that situation. You can't hide that stuff. People feel like they are the only people in the world that have been wronged because everybody's putting out this fake narrative of their life. But when you come on and you say, this happened to me, and this is how I overcame it, and this is what I'm doing now, and this is how I make sure it doesn't happen again, you get more authenticity, you get more followers, you get more, trust and more loyalty from people when they know that you're not perfect. And, again, the self-reporting, it all was very, very foretelling. So it's never been easier to put yourself out there in a way and be an example of, it was bad, but because of that, I'm in this now. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. I wouldn't trade any of those stories. Maybe a couple of lives would be here, my brother and Rick, but that's beyond me. That's beyond me. I can't even tell you if I would really even want that, because who knows what that does to the time continuous fabric. I don't know, the Back to the Future stuff. I'm glad I was able to help at the moment that they needed my help, everybody.
Jeremy, you are absolutely dope, yo. I mean, you are absolutely amazing. I love you, man, and I
love you too, brother.
Grateful. Yes, I mean it.
I give you thank you, man. My brother.
Yes. We're
right down the road, man. We got to come. We got to come up. Come up this weekend. Come to see the studio. It's the Get To studio. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. I'll give you a buzz.
Yep.
Listen, man, tell everybody again how they can get in contact with you. What they can expect, and some final words, something that you really want to impart with other people.
Well, I'm one of the rare people that put the phone number out there, 954-338-9799. Blow me up. I probably won't answer because I'm on video all day, but leave me a message. I definitely get back with people like that. The Business Treasure Hunter is on Amazon right now. It talks about the ways to grow your business with exponential growth by paying attention to the fundamentals of the business. All right. And then, labor leadership, my overcoming all that adversity that I told you about. Those are the best ways. I do have a show on live every Wednesday night, tonight being Wednesday, from 8 to 10 p.m. So as this is aired in the future, every Wednesday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, where I do Dave Ramsey style. Call me and I'll help you fix your business if something's going wrong. We can always get better, 1% better every day. LinkedIn is the best place. If anyone comes to me on LinkedIn and says, can I have either one of those books? I'll get you a PDF version right in LinkedIn of either one of those books or both of them. So if you're interested in any of those books and connect with me on LinkedIn, message me, just say that use your it starts with me podcast show. I will gladly give them PDF versions of the book. Otherwise, they can go to Amazon. They're really cheap. They're under $10.
I know you just kind of laughed at that, but listen, people out there in the world, you're the second person. You're the second, Bob Pritchard, the exact same way. He's the CEO, or he was the CEO, just stepped down and became the chairman. He was the co-founder of Logos, right?
Okay, yeah.
And the Bible software. He put out a book, and I think it was like $2.99 or $3.99. And it's like, well, the same thought. Why would you make it so inexpensive? It's because, guys, girls, gals out there, it's because people like this that just want to give, people like Jeremy, people like Bob, they're not concerned about making funds. They're concerned about changing the world. They're concerned about giving something of value to people who don't have the opportunity to talk about these things around the kitchen table. So don't look at the price and be like, oh, it's only $10. There's somebody else who's selling a book for $25.
Yeah.
That one definitely is going to make a change for me. No, this dude is giving you the value. And by these last 2 episodes, you should be able to figure it out. You could have turned something around just in these 2 episodes. So please go buy the book, hook up with them on LinkedIn. Tell them that you heard about them on It Starts With Me, and get your PDF version. Go buy your book, whatever you got to do. Get in contact with Jeremy. Do it now.
Thank you, man. Thank you, my brother. Thanks to everyone listening.
Absolutely, my friend. If you want to, hang on out in the background for a minute, and I'll come back and talk with you. If you got to go, I know it's almost your time.
I'm here.
All right, my friend.
Deuce.
As I said before, Jeremy brought fire, so much fire that I wanted to do those 2 episodes. So please, please, please check him out. His story is unique to him, but many people across the world are going through different scenarios and situations just like him, or just like the situations that I went through. But the thing is that he was able to change what he was going through and to turn it around into this extraordinary lesson. And I believe that deserves to be repeated. It deserves to be heard. He understood that in order for his life to change, he would have to change something inside of himself, and that he would have to muster the type of drive and determination that was necessary. He found those weak points that he was concerned about having approval. He was concerned about, somebody believing in him and somebody needing him, his accountability levels. And so he began to work on those things primarily. And it led him into developing greater relationships with his kids, with his family. And he desired to help people rather than hurt people. And through this extraordinary story, he now is the owner of a business where he thrives on helping people and adding value to other people without destroying or depleting their worth, or their wealth, I should say, but adding to their worth. This is a powerful, powerful story, and it's a powerful man doing powerful things in a very, very good way. So I implore that you listen to the words that he has stated, he has said, and he has testified about. Go check him out. Today's Wednesday. He'll be live. Go check him out. give them a phone call and make sure you tell them that you heard about them on It Starts With Me. But even if you don't, call them up, be a part of it, because as much as it starts with me, as much as it starts with him, as much as it starts with you, it always starts with me as well. Listen, take care. See you next Wednesday.